Welcome to Expressions. I'm your host, Zoe Olivia, guide to the growth minded truth seeker, leader of full life transformations, and a voice for peace, wellness, abundance, and soul based, truth based self love. This show is for out of the box thinkers, and every episode is designed to call you forward into your greatness, your self acceptance, and your higher purpose, as well as supporting you in your awakening journey. May you feel energized, expanded, inspired, safe, and free. Thank you for joining me. Let's go. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Expressions. I am so excited. I know I say this on every episode, but I am especially excited about today's episode. It is part of our series that we're doing on spiritual awakening, where I'm inviting people who I love, who I'm curious about, who I resonate with, who I believe they have this higher mission, that they're very clear on what it is, and I want them to spread this message to the external. So in that vein, I have someone with me today who is a dear, like, how do I even describe? I like to keep these round organic as I'm like identifying my guests. Like this beautiful angel, Mr. Leon, he's really special. Like him and I have always resonated with each other, and you're gonna see when you hear him speak that he has an above average understanding of the way things are, an above average standard for living his life, and he's fucking enlightened. So I want to get him to introduce himself a little bit, and then we're going to riff into the amazing things that he knows, that he wants to share, and a project that he has going on. Amigo, take it away.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. It is a serious pleasure being here, chatting with you, and thank you for speaking about me so highly. I really appreciate it.
Always.
Mm, the term enlightened, we it's not a binary, it's not a enlightened versus not enlightened thing. We're all enlightening. It's a process.
Mm. It's an unfolding. And that's important for people to know and to hear and to understand, is it's very easy to get caught up in the destination as if that's the goal. And while it's important to have goals and to have direction, it's how can you see the beauty in the present moment and in every stage and iteration of your unfolding. Yeah.
That right there is enlightened.
Boom, baby. So who
Boom.
are you and what do you do, my friend?
So luckily I'm able to say something different than I would have said a year ago. But I'm an artist. I paint as well as do and create things with my hands. And I'm also a personal evolution coach, meaning I help people understand the spiritual side of things in their lives so that they can have a better life. And that's not too dissimilar from what you do and what, our mentor does and people that we care about and listen to. When you include spirituality in any kind of coaching, you're doing real coaching. Anything that doesn't have spirituality isn't real coaching, because nothing is separate from spirituality.
Mm.
And spirit is at the foundation of everything. So if we have a better attunement to what the spiritual side of things are in the physical, then we can integrate both the physical and the spiritual and operate better, point blank. So I do the art, I do the coaching, and I also call myself a philanthropist, which is somebody that loves humanity by the definition. But I do actively work on projects now that are philanthropic in nature, so that I do help causes which I think are very important, and we'll talk about the ones I'm working on soon.
Amazing. How beautiful is that, you guys? And how beautiful is what he said specifically about spirituality, which is going to be our topic for today, right? When you think about the personal evolution space or the life coaching space or the psychology, therapy, the wellness, the development space, how many of us can really say, okay, what's the foundation here? And it could just be a lack of awareness, but it's like, how often do we say to ourselves, oh, I want to hire someone because they'll help me have more money, instead of saying, how can I hire someone who's going to take me back to me and to higher power and actually build something that's sustainable? So I love what you said. And that actually guides my first question for you, because I think it would be really interesting for my listeners and potentially your audience as well. What's your definition of spirituality? What is spirituality for you?
To great that exactly. We can't keep talking without defining that for anyone listening to, because that's the whole context. I would say that spirituality for me means the recognition of our spiritual being and the spirit, aka universe, aka God, whatever you want to call it, the divine energy, recognizing the presence of divine energy in everything. And to be spiritual, when you recognize it, then you are actively working with it.
Mm,
I
mm,
think it's the current definition.
received. Beautiful. I really just want to like
Received.
hold a space for that, because yeah. And so operating on that definition that you just gave, what would you consider, especially if someone has heard this buzzword before, but they don't actually understand it maybe to the depth that you and I do and embody it, right? What would you say then, if that's spirituality? What is spiritual awakening, or the process of spiritual awakening?
It's the process that we are all in, period. The more that we wake up to how present and real the spiritual side of things are, aka the unseen, the divine order, the inherent perfection, the perfect beauty, that is us waking up to the divine, which is everywhere and perfect, and the essential block of understanding for our lives.
Mm. Yeah, and then I would even add, like, how perfectly encapsulated is that definition? And then after we do that, and only after we do that, right? This coming home to ourselves as understanding that if that's the way, we actually are here because we have responsibilities and we have gifts to give, not until we understand that, because until I would argue that until we understand the spiritual piece, the decisions we make and the way we show up may be out of misalignment. So coming from that foundation in spirituality, coming home to ourselves as saying, okay, what's out there, that higher power, maybe we have that. Yeah, that's actually in here. And I use
Mm.
this metaphor often. It's this awakening, this coming home to understanding that if this is all true, you're moving yourself in every iteration and every moment of your day from the passenger seat into the driver's seat, saying that,
Mm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to create consciously. I can no longer be the
Mm-hmm.
victim of my own life. Right. So,
1000%.
yeah.
I
So,
love that. I love that. I love that you're spreading that message, because that's exactly the kind of message that people deserve to hear and integrate into their lives, because we're all looking for a happier life or a better life. And yeah, integrating that aspect of quote unquote spiritual awakening, it's not something you do on the side. It's everything that you do as part of your spiritual awakening, because we're only here to do spiritual awakening work. Ultimately, if everything is spirit, then we're always doing something spiritual, even
mm,
if it's misalignment.
mm, mm, yeah. And then how would this resonate? This is an interesting like little thought stream we can go on. How would this resonate with quote unquote the liberating of your soul? Knowing that my audience may not know 100% what that means, like they're starting to grasp the beginner things that we just talked about now, but where does that come into play? And then let's talk about you, with your permission, if you're okay with that. What has your liberation, what has your spiritual awakening process been like?
Wow. Okay. Let's touch
Coming in
on
hot.
let's yeah, coming in hot. So let's touch on uh the liberation piece. So I mean, on my IG, I came out with what I called the Self, capital S, Liberation Project, which was me coming out to the world about how I am liberating my soul. Literally. I got on camera and I'm like, I am not who you think I am. And I have it pinned on my profile for anybody that wants to find it. But that encapsulates in, the 90 seconds how I feel about liberation, soul liberation, recognizing I am more than just the identity I thought I was. When I expand into all that is and all I can and get to be, I am moving toward liberation. And very important because liberation is multifaceted, I think. Healing, that word, right, is a part of that. We are only ever, quote unquote, healing the thoughts and beliefs that that's are in our subconscious. That's all healing is. We have things in our subconscious which do not support us, usually things that are an unforgiven past that we're not even consciously aware of, even though our life is set up for us to meet those situations again so that we can bring forgiveness to them. All of that resides in our subconscious mind. This is totally a mental game in that sense, where within in the subconscious, we have the access to everything that both holds us back and could move us forward.
Mm.
So when we heal, we can liberate our subconscious mind from attracting and creating situations which are undesirable so that we can consciously move in the direction of creating all the things that are. So healing is an essential part. Essential part.
He said he's an
um,
artist. He's a cantante.
uh,
I've heard it. I've heard it. He
yeah,
can
yeah.
sing.
I think a multidisciplinary artist, I should say. Facts though.
Facts.
So that I would say the healing is a key part of liberation. And the daily work of integrating that you are so much more than just some limited identity who has problems that are hard to solve and a life that you want to be better when the path to our better life exists and is waiting for us to do what the fuck it's asking us to do so that we can align with it, period. And that takes, and this goes into the my spiritual journey, as you asked, it takes dedication, period. That's it. I'm one of the most mother loving, dedicated people on this spiritual game that I know, period. I'm dedicated. I wake up all the time for years in dedication, asking, how do I listen better? How do I do better? What do I need to listen to in order to align? Because one of the lessons from A Course in Miracles, which is something that I use as a resource, is God speaks to me all throughout the day. We're deaf, but God's speaking all
Mm.
throughout the day, right? And subtly, and if we become attuned, which is one of the best things that meditation will give you, you start becoming attuned to your surroundings and the little things, and more importantly, your feeling and intuition. You start listening, and then you can start walking that path you came here to walk. And everyone's path is unique. And everyone has a perfect path laid out before them for them to accomplish everything, everything, everything that they really want. Not what their ego wants, but what their soul really wants, which is, I think, liberation.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. I love to just like whenever you talk, just sit in silence to really allow the words that he says to land. Because we're not talking about anything other than things of enormous significance, enormous magnitude. And I know that you're someone who chooses his words carefully, as do I, because everything he's saying, he's creating, and he knows that. So on that, some beautiful, oh, we could go, like, we could really riff in a lot of directions right here. But what comes up intuitively is, tell us, what's your definition of the soul actually? If we're talking about liberating this thing called the soul, in my head it's a capital S in soul. What
Right.
is the soul? And then how does that play into Dharma? Because maybe you've heard of the word Dharma before, team who's listening to this. Maybe you've heard of karma. How do these things play out in your perspective?
Wow. Okay.
It's still
These
coming
are,
in hot.
yeah, coming in hot. Mhm. So, soul with capital S, self with a capital S. I believe that our soul is that eternal part of us, period. So, I don't really know how this thing goes, obviously. Obviously, doing my best here. But I believe that our soul is that ray of light from the sun that cannot be separated from the sun, extending the light of our source across the universe. So ultimately, we are part of that one source, but we are living and personified in this seemingly separate ray of sun. But it's all one light shining upon itself, each other.
Mm. Yeah. And so if you guys think about and reflect on what we were talking about quote unquote, and we both say quote unquote healing because we both know that we were never broken, right? So that's kind of why I wanted to wait to talk about the soul to kind of tie back the fact that if you're listening to this and you're really drawn to content or people or quote unquote leaders who talk about like healing, quote unquote, wounding or healing or this kind of language, it's to recognize, like, yeah, use those words, but you also have to understand your core beingness was never broken, was never flawed, was never missing anything. It's those identities that we created, whether it's in our mind, in our state of being, in our embodiment, that is telling us, like, oh, like there's something wrong with me, but that's not actually the truth. Right. So getting really clear on what the truth, capital T, is so that you can move and quote unquote heal from there, which is just bringing you back to your natural state. Right.
Exactly, exactly. Which to me represents the junk in our subconscious that we believe in, which does not let us recognize the capital T truth about ourselves. So
Mm,
all of those limiting beliefs and those beliefs that we have about why we are small and we are limited, that's what we're healing. Because if we're eternally perfect, and that's our soul, I mean, I want to live as that eternally perfect thing. I don't want to be blundering about and babbling about when I have the ability to align with something that is divinely perfect within and have the most kick-ass badass life in the game. So 100%. So whatever's in my subconscious that is getting me to mm, that is blocking me from integrating with that perspective, that's what I'm cleaning up. That's what healing is.
mm,
But yo, there's like let's speak on this for a moment because as you know, I'm somebody that has spent a lot of time with plant medicine, and that has been a significant, I recommend it to everyone ever, because it is such a significant tool in our arsenal in order to accomplish the things that I'm talking about in dedication. The healing, quote unquote, that happens in our subconscious, it's a lot of them are stuck emotions, sadness, something that happened, something that we don't want to face ever again. So it gets locked away in our subconscious, and we act the fool and glance over it and really just keep playing it out while it's stuck. And what's stuck? An image of us, some aspect of us that is stuck reliving or stuck not forgiving, stuck believing in something that didn't even happen. And so healing does refer to releasing these emotions of sadness that I have, of anger, of a misunderstanding about whatever happened in the past, be it this life or another life that I'm still carrying with me, so that it can liberate our mind for us to remember and recognize that we are the shit, right?
Mm, mm.
Yeah, yeah. I find that plant medicine is a really, really great tool for that. And people are scared of plant medicine because people are just scared of everything. What the fuck? People are so scared of everything.
I
And
love
I
that.
think it's very funny.
That was powerful. That was so
Thank you.
powerful. And it like brought out for me to share, like, it's so easy if we're starting to grasp everything that we're talking about and we're starting the process of going within and understanding what a limiting belief is or an identity is. It's very easy to see those limiting, quote unquote, limiting beliefs, identities as against us or as something that bothers us because we just want to be liberated already. And it's really
Mm,
important to understand what that really is versus assigning a value judgment, like judging that as right or wrong, demonizing or getting angry at that version of ourselves. Because until we can take that out and bring neutrality in, we won't actually see what's going on. So it's really important if you're listening to this to understand that all those identities, limiting beliefs is just a smaller version of us that what wants to be loved. Like in my own practice, I know we have mentors who, and everybody has their own words for this process. For me, I call them like little babies because in my own integration process, in my own work, in my own meeting and loving myself, that's for me to remind myself when I come against, not against, scarcely the language. When I meet a version of myself, right? That maybe I'm having some resistance to, it's about understanding. And I literally have baby pictures of myself to remind me, like, that's just me, right? So that's just me. How would you talk to a baby? You know? So on that
yeah,
note,
I love that. Thank you for bringing
yeah,
that up.
what do you think of that? And then tell us about Dharma and how that plays into everything we're talking about with soul integration, spiritual awakening.
Okay, this is literally the most important subject that people can listen to without a question. Without a question, because everybody, how many people went to college and aren't doing anything of significant value in the world because college degrees don't equip us to do anything significant in the world? And so everyone ends up in a marketing job. And that's why we have a polluted internet full of marketing because everyone's just trying to sell us shit because it's the best thing that we've got to try to make money in a world where money is made up for us to just keep some cycles going and some other people happy and rich, et cetera, while everyone thinks they're going to get rich by doing something or some startup. It's all some bullshit. It's all some mother loving bullshit. It's bad. It's bad. We're in the state of the world that is not ideal in the developed world. And it's like, no wonder we're not helping out in Africa and Asia and South America and Central America because our rent went up.
How real is that? That's
That's
funny.
the realest thing. Our rent went up. My kombucha is $5. You know, my bougie Whole Foods meal, everything. So people are like, yeah, how do I help when I'm struggling? Even when you have money. And then sometimes when you have like the good job and the money, then you're pretentious. And then you're like, other people should have just studied harder and sacrificed like I did, and then you're all pretentious about it. So we're in this nasty sphere and cycle of not working according to our soul and passion.
Mm.
Period. Everywhere.
This hits because I literally just watched The Matrix like 3 days ago and it keeps coming up in different ways. So here we
That's like the best movie ever. It's my favorite movie of all time.
go.
Matrix One, that's one of my favorites ever.
Matrix One. Yeah, I'm on Matrix One. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in this world that this is the best that we've got, but it's also the best that we've got created by the people that are at the top. And they're like, this is the best that we can make for everyone else, while we keep like banks, for instance. Well, banks keep all of the money. It's really tyrannical. I mean, they get upset that they don't make more billions of dollars a quarter or a year, and you have investors leaving companies to look for higher returns in the short term in other places, which is counterintuitive to the long-term goals of a society. So we're really messed up because everyone's just trying to make more money. I don't have a solution per se on how to systemically address what is a systemic cluster shit show that we live in. But I will say the more that we do align with our spiritual nature, the more that we can start saying no to some of the pressures to conform and to move to the better place and stay on the hedonic treadmill.
Mm, mm.
So, Dharma.
Question, not question, but input before you touch on Dharma.
Dale,
Dale,
dale.
pues. Everything that he's saying, right? So if you resonate with that, if you maybe have your own beliefs or conceptions or fears or whatever comes up about the quote unquote reality of this can be very scary. How can I be an independent person within a structural framework that seems to not have my best interest in mind? All of that's important, right? Because the awareness of what he's saying and where we are is important, especially when it's misaligned, especially when it's hurting people, right? And also understanding that everything is inviting us forward, everything is happening as, a consequence of our collective consciousness, and we're not all going into a dystopia. So it's important for us
Yes.
to kind of lean into that backbone, especially if you haven't heard this kind of content before, which is that we are infinitely supported and we are moving forward. So not
Yes.
overlook the state of where we are, because we got to look at it if we're going to move with it. And
Yes.
also to know that we're going to move forward collectively towards the greater good, like punto y ya, because sí o sí, you know what I mean?
Yes. Zoe, thank you so much for bringing that up.
I got
That's
you.
key. Thank you. That was very well articulated too.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, respect. There's that silver lining, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. And I'm
100%.
also not telling people that if they're in a marketing job, then they're wasting their lives. Most people are. Period. Period. But guess what? Me as an artist, how much time have I had to spend on social media to promote my project and do the marketing? It's let's call it like it is. We're in the ease of access economy where yes, there's a plethora, but luckily I have access. Where
Mm.
before we would have to go through traditional mediums, and that was a nightmare for people. Where somebody can go out today and get viral or do whatever.
Yeah, and I would even add, before I let him touch on Dharma, I would even add, who would you want to be doing the marketing or to have the money? Like, would you want people who are dedicated to their purpose? Would you want people who are, embodying or dedicating, like you said, every day to this? Those are the people you want to be like spreading their message, that you want to be holding the money. Because I feel like, at least for me, I would feel safer. I would feel more comfortable, like viscerally in my body. I could feel it right now, knowing that those people are holding the framework, right?
Yes,
That's just what I say. That's what I think.
yes. I mean, we can bring higher consciousness to any job, to everything that we do. And if you're in a job right now, there's a reason for it. There's no accident. So some of it is to meet yourself where you're limiting, but something is also some challenge that maybe sucks, but it's necessary for us. So there's never any like blanket statement that we can make
Mm,
about whether something is right or wrong or best or not or misaligned.
mm,
But eventually, we hear it all the time. People want to move into passion work. I want to fuel my passion. I want to do something that helps others. And I don't really think that we need a whole world of life coaches. Um, obviously, even though both of us life coach and I life coach literally. And yet, one of the that's not the primary thing that I do. And that's a key in this case, because some people are really good at articulating like you are for others in a way that helps them learn, and that's key. But everyone learns spirituality and then they want to help others, and that's great. But we're still here to help ourselves. We're still here to do better for ourselves, to do more, because we all have mad creative gifts, epic creative gifts, epic support that we can provide to other people that are like human design comes into my mind, where there's manifestors, projectors, reflectors, and generators. And knowing the human design archetypes helps you know, like, hey, I'm probably best suited to be more behind the scenes versus be more upfront or help somebody that's upfront. And there is this alignment with our archetypes, which is very important, very, very important. Alignment of archetypes so that we are in those jobs, those dharmic roles, which best support our natural state of being, our archetype that we came here to explore.
Mm,
So it's that whole thing is deep in the sense that it spans into how different we are as humans
mm,
and how the world needs the whole tribe to do the different things that support each other, right?
mm. Yeah.
So so Dharma is that. Dharma is that. Dharma is doing what you came here to do in support of each other. It's like, what did I come here to do? Am I meant to lead? Am I meant to be in the background? Am I meant to invent? Am I meant to make art? Am I meant to create in some other way, etc., or support a big organization? Because let's call it like it is. Big organizations are key for the world, like Spotify. A nice big organization provides a service for the entire world, and we love it. Even though we can say a lot, because this is a challenging one, Amazon is the shit in America, and then that's kind of a charged subject. But when things are bigger, we get to do bigger things. We get to have more ease of access, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's room for everything. There's room to be a part of big organizations, create your own organization, be small, be independent. There's room everywhere. The tribe is big enough for us to do all sorts of tribe activities. And the one that's most aligned to you is your Dharma, the thing that helps you be more of who you are in the expression of your work.
mm. Yeah. Beautifully said, beautifully articulated, and thinking about how, just like how he said, it's not just black and white. We don't want to get in the habit of saying there's good, bad, big corporation, bad, or good, or any of that. It's how does that align with me and who I am? And so the question that comes out of that for Dharma, for exploring who we inherently are, is how would you recommend somebody start to come home to their individual Dharma? So they can actually, I would say, I would argue that's step one in how you can serve the collective. And I would say you wouldn't even accurately serve the collective until you're serving yourself in that way.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, Dharma has literally been the question of my life for years. It appears everywhere in my journals because I've been on the quest for Dharma. It's like, yo, where am I most aligned, God? What would you have me do? Where am I supposed to be and how am I supposed to be doing this thing so that I can live abundantly, supporting others in a way that gives me more energy versus, spends my energy.
Mm,
For anyone listening, I think the number one thing is asking the question, what's my Dharma? Ask God, ask your higher self. Your higher self is waiting, fucking waiting for you to start asking, but really asking from the heart, not from the ego. What am I really here to do? Show me.
mm,
And then wait. Literally wait. Literally take your time. Be patient. Because wherever you are, you probably have a mission to complete, whatever job, whoever you're working around are people that you are meant to integrate something with, period, always.
Mm,
Always. There's no one that you're spending a lot of time with that is by chance, happen chance, somebody that you're not meant to interact with in a significant way. So for anyone that's in a specific job, the people around you are probably the main set of work, showing you the mirror side of you, the things that you don't want to, admit about yourself, as well as challenges in how to be more authentic or forgiving or dedicated or disciplined, whatever the challenges are uniquely for that person. So you got to get through whatever you're going through. But just by you asking the question, what is my Dharma? God's already answering. Your higher self is already answering. Is already saying, I got you, baby. I have been waiting for you to ask. And all right, you got to do these other things first. But if you stay in dedication, it's coming. Just trust. It's coming. And then be relentless on the search. Be attuned. What lights me up? What did I light up as a child? Where do I naturally, where am I naturally good at, et cetera, et cetera? Looking at the human design, even looking at your astrology can help you somewhat. Somewhat. Archetypes can help us understand potentially some of what is our natural inclinations, but it's more something that you get to find within ultimately. So asking the question, I think, is the number one thing.
mm.
Number one thing.
Yeah, and I had this beautiful moment as I was listening to you because it really helps me see, and I want to bring this to the surface, right? Is even in my questioning, right? My questioning to you was like, what can somebody do to find their dharma? And then listening back and reflecting on, yes, it's important to do and action items, and we don't want to just 100% be. However, the invitation, I think the loudest invitation in here is how deeply can I listen? Like,
Yes,
how deeply can I listen? How deeply can I ask the question? And even if you heard what he said about like ask God, and then how deeply can you make the space to receive the answer? That's I think what he means by attuned. Like, how can you say, okay, God, what will you have me do today? It's very, I don't know if that's Marianne Williamson for you, but it's very Marianne Williamson for me. Like it's like, and maybe it's Course in
mm-hmm.
Miracles, right? It's like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
God, like giving that up, because how many of us, right, are like, I have control of my life, and yes, we want to command and we want to direct, but how strongly and deeply can we surrender to the higher plan that can see way more than we could fucking see? And say,
yes,
I know you got me because I know you're good. I know you love me. I know you're supporting me. And I just surrender this all to you. Like I do this like on my hands and knees at times, to kind of humble myself and bring back into like there is a higher plan as much as my ego says that it knows it all.
for sure, for
Right.
sure. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is patience.
Mm,
Patience. We're very impatient. We think that I'm not in my passion, therefore I am wasting my life, or I need to be in my passion right now, et cetera, et cetera. There's something in front of you already. You wouldn't be there if there weren't. And again, especially with the people that you're around, it's very important. It's very important.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how attuned can we get to what's here right now, knowing that the only thing that fucking matters is the present moment? How can we
Mhm.
get attuned to what's around us right now with not judgment? Because it sounds like, why am I not there? That sounds like judgment. So, how can we lean into receiving the curiosity of like, who's around me right now? Who lights me up? Who doesn't? Not because they're bad or wrong or evil, but they're reflecting something important out of me, just as the other party would be, right? So sitting into that, I think, is really important, the present moment. And that leads me to ask you, my dear hermano del alma, how, first of all, you guys are going to hear all about him and the projects he has going on, but you have a couple really beautiful things going on. I want to hear how your Dharma brought you here to what you're doing right now.
Yes. Yes. Cool. Thank you.
Gotcha.
So this is it. I mean, this is it. This is what I'm talking about. I've been on a relentless search for my Dharma. I've been on a relentless search of who I am, a relentless search of being in dedication and listening and being attuned, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've been asking, and then I finally started receiving after I moved through a bunch of misaligned bullshit in my life that I was resisting so that I could feel inspired. First with the personal evolution coaching, which was like hugely affirmed by the first client that I had, where it was like, I'm in alignment. This feels amazing. This feels great. I came here to do this. Let's go. But then there's more in my case, really allowing myself to be an artist is that dharmic fire really being lit within me in order to express it. So I've had a big fear my whole life, which is artists are starving. Doing art is hard. I can't make, I'm somebody that has focused on business because at least in business I can make money. And that's a narrative that I've had since childhood, period, that artists are starving. I heard my mom say it and I integrated that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I have to be a businessman because if not, I'm going to be poor out here. And we grew up in scarcity. And so I don't want that. But then these are, again, things in the subconscious that we're healing. If we have it in us to be artists and we have a narrative that says artists are starving, then we're in conflict.
Mm.
We can't do it because we got pulling in two directions saying, don't do it. And then I want to do it. But I've known for a hot minute that I'm just creative as love. I am creative as love. I mean, literally do all sorts of creative things. And every time that I do it, I'm like, I can do this. Like, yeah, I'm this creative person and allow myself to be free. So in front of a canvas, in front of like a big canvas, I can be very free. And I noticed that, when I started painting, I'm like, yo, I can really be free. I can expand in my being and play here in a way that I'm not able to play in other professions.
Mm.
So, so I'm working on a project right now. Excuse me. I've I'm showing a project, which has been months of work, that combats child sex trafficking through art. I have a collection of paintings, installations, and I'm doing live performing arts, all in an effort to raise money for an organization that combats child trafficking while highlighting the presence of the inner child of offenders and their unresolved traumas throughout the entire collection so that we can understand how we got to now. Because I believe a solution is comprehensive. And for us to find a real solution, we have to put energy into understanding that which is incomprehensible. Because it is essentially incomprehensible what happens at that level of misalignment. But what is very comprehensible and we see all the time is just straight up child abuse. Straight up, whether it's literal sexual and physical abuse, like, the official statistic is 1 in 4 girls is sexually abused. Um, that's underreported. It's more. It's more than 1 in 4 girls. And a lot of it happens in teenage years by peers, by someone that's a little bit older, and there's that aspect. But then it happens at home too, by someone that's trusted or someone in the family. Um, and it's not just women, it's boys too. And that's the most underreported of all those numbers because
Mhm.
men carry the shame of admitting that their child abused. And so it never surfaces. Um, and I have my own story of repressed memory of child abuse that I've been digging up and processing and have transmuted or am transmuting with this collection too. Because
Mm.
this is some healing work. Legit. Thank you. So, yeah, so I got some badass collection. I painted the most I've ever painted. And I have put that on display for the world to see and raising money so that we can make a big difference in the world.
Mm, how beautiful is that? Like, I just want to hold a moment of silence for that so we can all receive that.
Thank
Like,
you.
that's powerful. That's so powerful. I'm so inspired by you, so proud of you, so excited. I'm gonna go soon. I know I already told you. I'm gonna go soon to check it out, to support, to spread the word. Um, I guess a follow-up question, and then I'll allow you to plug all the info. And I'm also going to put it in the show notes of this episode if this is resonating with anyone and you want to really be there to support live in all the aspects, right? How did this come through to you? And then
Mm,
how do you see this serving the world? Like I know that we're talking about the organization, like what do they do? How do you see them being involved? So everything from the how into the integration of how we're moving forward from here.
mhm. Do you mind repeating?
Yeah, I actually that's so funny because intuitively I'm like I feel like I'm gonna ask him if I should repeat the question. I guess the question is how did you come to this? Was it something that came through you? Were you
Right,
channeling? How did you
right.
come to this project? And then the how we pick this organization and how they're moving to further
Yes,
help the
yes.
cause.
Might be. I got you. Might be. I spaced off for a moment. So, uh, um, this came through. Yo, I just started receiving like inspiration with a few sketches over the course of a week. And by the end of it, I'm like, I understood. I'm like, yo, I have something here. I have something here that I can work on. I understand a real story that happened that I'm connected to. And I'm like, this is the time is now. Like, I feel this coming through. And then I got lots of signs. I got lots of signs, really incredible, powerful signs that were like, do this and do it now. And then everything moved into place. I found the studio, I found the event space, I found somebody to help me with installations where I needed support. And so everything came together. And then I found somebody to help me with the live performance piece because I'm doing a sound engineering piece so that it's an immersive sound experience. By the way, everything is going to be available online virtually, 100. So anyone that's not in town can participate and donate, ideally. I've been having technical difficulties getting my virtual exhibition up, but it'll resolve itself. I'll figure it out. But everything started flowing, and then I realized like everything was affirmative, and lots of signs telling me, "Yeah, do it. Let's go, bro. Let's go, artist. Let's go, artiste." And so yeah, artista. And so I stopped doing everything else, and I just painted. 8 weeks I spent in the studio essentially, and cranked out 6 paintings. Um, and then the installations and coordinating everything and then doing marketing and doing photos and doing all these things. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been hella intense,
Mm,
but I don't know. It's like a rite of passage of my soul.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm sharing with the world right now, so that the world can, like you said, be inspired, bear witness to things that are hard to witness. Very
Mm,
important. Raise our awareness, and then expand our understanding on an issue, which requires us to, recognize that, these people, these offenders, dude, why do we think that they're like that? They came from broken homes. They came from child abuse. The reason that it's kind of like, all right, so we're working with people, right? And I said that you have work there if you're surrounded by people. Nothing's an accident. So if you're caught in the middle of child prostitution, child trafficking, child whatever, yo, that is the universe heavy, 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 heavy. trying to tell you about you. Heavy, heavy. Like it doesn't get heavier than that.
Mm,
And like you're distorting it, but and the distortion makes it louder and louder to where you're operating a ring or whatever you're doing or whatever the thing is, the level of distortion. But all of that is the universe's way of getting you to face what you have not resolved. And we know people with unresolved shit, I mean, we have divine spirit in us. We're very powerful beings. We're powerful as hell in misalignment, just as powerful as we are in alignment. The world has shown us that. History has shown us that. So it can get loud, all because you haven't forgiven your past.
mm,
Period. You can kill millions of people, all because you needed love as a child. We don't understand that as a society very well. The closer we get to that understanding, the more society makes it a priority to take care of children. And
mm,
if we do that, we stop, literally, we stop these massive levels of distortion from happening. Of
mm.
course, it's pretty intense of a subject and broad in in circumstances that promote it. It's
No,
not just
it's important. And this is an amazing place where we'll start to close this container because a couple of things, right? Talking about what he just said, kind of what came to my heart to share was part of the reason I'm excited to go to this after hearing you and why I would highly encourage you to go to this if you're listening to this is he literally created a container, a space, an event, a project where you will be walking into truth. Like literally as it comes down from the foundational, from the spiritual
Mhm.
channeled, somebody's soul is speaking the pain, the love, like, and everything in between. Excuse me, my throat chakra is like, yeah, cheering us
Yeah,
on, right? So
yeah,
so this is an immensely, immensely, immensely powerful container. So if you're starting to resonate on this and you've never kind of felt that, this is the kind of thing that you're going to walk in and you're going to feel things that you don't understand, but they are important as fuck because they're true. And I mean capital T as in true.
totally,
Capital
totally.
T as in true, right, my friend? And so when we talk about this heavy, misaligned subject, just how we talked about, the nature of marketing jobs and society, it's about understanding, yes, you can get loud in your misalignments and the power, the frequency of love, of alignment can and always will be stronger. Always. Always.
Yes,
So the work
yes,
is to be aware, just like he's doing, to bring awareness to where it is in our consciousness that we're misaligned, so we can move back into that space of love and alignment, my friend. So I think it's amazing
yes.
what you're doing. I would love for
Thank
you
you.
to share as we close, and then I'll kind of piggyback off you as we close out. Anything that comes through to you that you want to just say as a closing word to audiences who are listening to this right now.
I got you. Probably more than one thing. The first thing that comes to mind is I would not be able to do this if I was worried about money. If I was just focused on making money, I would not have created this collection. So, if we have a fixation on making money, good fucking luck doing things that are more dharmic. Because I believe truly this is some very dharma stuff. This is helping me heal my own stuff while bringing in its expression healing to the world in some, at whatever level, whatever magnitude it gets to spread, right? So that's a key. I mean, ask God, be like, yo, how do I do something that is not just for me and my ego, my search for safety and significance, that
Mm,
whole separation, duality, fear-based thinking. God wants us to do more and more of what we came here to do, period. Period. So I really want to impart that to the entire world, straight up, but especially people that have the privilege of doing more because many people don't. Many people are working two jobs and then they really are struggling with money and they cannot. They literally cannot. But many of us can. Many of us can. It might take some sacrifice, but we can do more. So the call is always to the more. The more is calling. Um, I think one last thing was ask the question relentlessly, be in dedication, and just show up and ask the question for years. I did for fucking years. I have been asking, who am I? What have I come here to do? How can I really listen? I have been asking for years on a daily basis, essentially. And so it does take that solid level of dedication because you cannot ask today and then hope and then just be like, God's listening, right? So I should just know. Because that's not it. That's the same thing with law of attraction. People want to attract based on a few thoughts, but law of attraction is dominant thoughts. So you have dominant thinking in alignment, you're gonna get there, period, because that's how the universe works. So I would extend the invitation to everybody is make the search a dominant thought. Make the search of who you are and what you came here to do a dominant thought. And then close the journal and get on with your day and do what's in front of you. But
Mm,
start the day or end the day with the search, with the question.
mm. Beautiful, my friend. I would even like tie it together and say, how can we, use money to maybe give us a foundation, a security for right now
Yes.
to be able to, whether that means you're staying some extra time with family or whatever that means to you, that you put some money away so that you can really dedicate the time and energy to this. So you don't build up that resentment. You worked your whole life and now you're retired. I'm like, who even am I at the end of the day? How soon
Yeah.
can you provide yourself that foundation so you can start to integrate the things that you're hearing when you're asking this question? So
Yes.
what a beautiful conversation, my friend. Anything else that, calls you in to say in this moment in time?
My exhibition is virtual too. It's all virtual. So we can do in person, you can do virtual. Check it out. Follow my Instagram, register for virtual tickets so you can get access to the virtual exhibition and sign up for the live stream for my closing performance, which is the coolest shit that is happening around the subject because I have created a just a bad, like the most kick-ass 20-minute performance that is talking about the subject. I mean, I really leave people with a new perspective and it's heavy at first, but it ends in light, it ends well.
Mm,
So, I mean, it's just so good. I can't get over how freaking good this performance is gonna be. That's on Saturday. So if you're in Miami, come because just come. And if you're not, sign up for the live stream and you can watch the replay whenever you want.
amazing. Beautiful. And like you said, we hear heavy, we think that's bad. Heaviness is just a part of the cycle. So the sooner we can see it, the sooner we can feel it, the sooner we can quote unquote heal it. So I personally am so excited. I was excited before the chat, and now I'm even more excited because I know
Right.
how
Zoe,
much it is in this.
let me say
Do
one
it.
thing for
Do it.
people. Yo, the thing that is holding people back more than anything are your friends. Get rid of your friends. Get rid of all of your friends. All of them, all of them. Find a new set of friends. Go to the yoga class, go to the spiritual place, go to the workshop and make friends with those people. All your other friends, they're not on your wavelength.
Mm.
They're looking to you to step away as a leader for them to say, I want to join too. Or for them to say, dude, you left us. And you're like, yeah. So
Peace.
I encourage everybody to leave the people in your life that give you resistance
Mm.
for wanting to speak a new language and integrate a new understanding, have a new standard for living. That is your priority. You are your priority, and other people are not necessarily supporting you. So be very ruthless in whoever is not resonating with the things you're listening to, which are leveling you up.
Mm. What made you say this? I love it. It came out. I saw it as it was hitting you. Like how did this come out? I saw it
Uh,
happen
yeah, right?
live.
I don't know. It just came through where I'm just like, yo, this is a thing because
Yeah.
it's a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Piggybacking off that, and this I guess will be my beautiful closing word, is this word of expansion and expanders. And how can you take what he just said and incorporate when I look at, like, if I audit my own life, who around me, do I have anyone around me that expands my perception of what's possible, expands my perception of who I am and can't be, who I am and will be and want to be, who is just defying the rules of everything we thought was true. If you're that expander, that's all well and good. And get some fucking expanders, like in your personal
yes,
life, in your intimate life, in your spiritual or religious life, in your professional life. Are the people you're with right now expanders? And if they're not, how soon can you shift that? Right? Because that's going to be directly proportional to your level of growth. Like you could still grow, and the invitation here, if you take anything from what him and I said, it's how can I expand? And expansion comes from within. Expansion comes from taking here, I'm going to get really honest about this is my level of awareness, and how can I build a system of people, of letting God into my life, of me letting myself into my life to expand that awareness in every way. So on that note, I already know that this conversation was expansive for me, intend for you. And for everyone
yeah,
that's listening to this, him and I come from a space of so much love, of so much just wanting to impart everything that we know, that we've learned, that we're still learning, because we're very much on this journey, on this unfolding every single day. So thank you, my dear, dear friend, my soul family. I'm
yes, yes,
so
yes, yes.
grateful for you. I'm gonna get, if
Big
you guys
time.
are vibing with him, I'm gonna get all his socials, plug it into the show notes. And I want to thank you guys for listening today. So much love, so much peace, and so much light to you.